all of our favorite fans. Frank Garcia, what's up, man? Hey, this is Smothered Covered Sports live with Frank Garcia. This is our one true live show of the week. How you feeling today, brother?
I'm feeling pretty good. Ready to rock and roll. Got a lot of things to talk about. And my Huskies, being one of them, playing for the national championship against the University of Michigan Wolverines tonight.
Dude, that is going to be a huge game.
It's a national championship, bud.
Yeah, but it's also, like we talked about last week, it's also the first time that there has not been an SEC team in the national title game in years since the first year of the college football playoffs.
Yeah, and that's going to be a great game, I think, and it'll be interesting to see what and how that game plays out and the legacies and things like that. But before we do, last week when they were playing in the championship game or the semifinal game, I wore my ring.
You did.
But
show the people.
I brought out the repertoire, the entire arsenal.
This is amazing, guys.
Not
Look
one,
at that.
Not two, not three, but four big
diamonds.
Big diamonds.
Dude, hey, and three of those, correct me if I'm wrong here, three of those Rose Bowl?
Yeah. Two of them were against Michigan, and the other one was against Iowa. 1991, 92, and 93. In 91, we won a national championship against Michigan. So this is old hat. These two teams, these two storied programs playing against each other. And, two of the three we won. They got us the second year with Tyrone Wheatley and Elvis Gerbach, I believe, was the quarterback. And they lit it up. And, it was a really high-scoring game. I think it was like 38-31. But the first year that we played them with Desmond Howard, if you remember, that was the Mario Bailey Heisman pose when Desmond Howard won the Heisman.
Wow.
So we kind of threw it back in their face a little bit. And it's just good. It was all good fun. But I'm looking forward to this. It's not the Rose Bowl that we've seen in years past, but it's the national championship for all the marbles. And two great seasons.
That's amazing, man.
Two teams, two great seasons.
That's amazing. And I'll tell you what, that's it's special to be next to a Rose Bowl ring. I mean, the Rose Bowl.
Which one?
About exactly.
Which one are you talking about?
Three. All three. It's amazing. I mean, get a closer look. Put them up in the. There we go. Look at that, man.
Well, there's the 91, 92, 93, and then that one right there is the national championship, the one that says number one, obviously.
Man.
So, yep.
So, Frank, do me a favor. So this is our live show, right? Tell the people what is so special about where we're doing our live broadcast.
Well, we're at Tap and Vine today, Dan, and in Quail Hollow, and this is one of our newest restaurants, obviously one of our sponsors as well. But we're in the private dining room right now. We're still in process of, making this a special place. But we have a lot of great guests in here in the restaurant today, and we decided to kind of step back into the back room to kind of keep us from yelling and screaming if I get too excited about my Huskies or, one of the topics that we're talking about. But, we're going to have all sorts of great things going on here in Quail Hollow, and it's a great opportunity to come out here and check us out. We're going to have live country music every Wednesday night. We have live music every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday as well. Great drink specials, free wine tastings. Yep, I said it. Free wine tastings every Thursday over here at Tap and Vine in Quail. $99 lunch special. You're not going to beat that price for the quality of food anywhere. And it's just a great environment. We got some good, happy crowds and happy people, happy patrons, and great bartenders and great servers. So the food is amazing. Come on out here and check us out. You're not going to be disappointed.
I'll tell you what. What's her name? Is it Caitlin?
Caitlin.
I'll tell you what, man. She is one of the nicest people. Came in, she first thing, hey, I'm Caitlin. What's your name? Very, very friendly. Was very interested in getting. I mean, most people get interested in getting to know me. What can I say?
Oh my goodness!
But still, it was very, very welcoming atmosphere. I highly suggest it. And I'm drinking the Queen Victoria.
Yep.
Right. This was named after Joe's mother.
That's correct.
And it is a delicious yet fruity drink.
Yeah, it has some blueberries in there and just a great little cocktail.
It is.
I highly recommend it. I've had one or two in my time coming here, and I got the old-fashioned, the vanilla smoked old-fashioned caramel, and it is absolutely delicious as well. But, I'm curious because I see a lot of people that are kind of joining in. And
go Dogs.
Go Dogs, go Dogs. And my buddy Norb, he played with me with the Panthers here, and he's chiming in, right now as well. But he went to USC. I'm curious to see or listen to or talk to people, when their conference is playing. Are they a person that roots for their conference to win, or are they somebody that says, there's no way I'm rooting for them? For example, the SEC. If Alabama was playing, would Auburn be rooting for them? Would South Carolina be rooting for them to win a championship because of conference pride? Or, is Iowa or Ohio State rooting for Michigan for conference pride? And, that's kind of what it will be interesting to see, like around the country with the ratings and things like that. But I do think that with the Pac-12, there's some pride that goes along with that. And it's not maybe as storied or as much hate as let's say North Carolina, Duke in basketball,
right.
Alabama, Auburn in football, Tennessee, Georgia in football. Those types of rivalries that you're to Florida, Tennessee, that you're talking about. It's not a rivalry game, but do you root for your conference? And I think that's got a lot of people chiming in and saying they root for the conference.
Well, I get that. I mean, for me, unfortunately, I know I'm wearing a North Carolina shirt, and I'm both a North Carolina fan and a Alabama fan, but I think in the case of Alabama, so many people hate Alabama now that's the one time that you would say no to the conference. But
because of how much success that makes sense.
It does. There's a lot of haters out there.
It'd be the same thing, I guess, with maybe Ohio State. Nobody's going to root for Ohio State because they've kind of worn the crown. Clemson, I guess, and the ACC would be the same predicament. But the Pac-12 really hasn't had a conference or a team in the championship since Oregon, and I believe it was 2015 when Cam Newton and Auburn ended up beating them. So I think that's the last Pac-12 team that has been in the championship game.
But one of the most notable and the loudest, and I actually invited him here today as your partner in this business. Joe is one of the most outspoken, daggone Ohio State fans I've ever met.
Yep.
And he's pulling for Michigan.
No, he's not.
Oh
no, he's not.
All that trashy talk to me.
He's rooting for Washington. And I think he's rooting for me just because he's a good friend.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, okay.
He may be rooting for Michigan, but I think his money is on Washington. He thinks Washington's going to win. So I'm not sure, where the allegiance lies, but that's the type of thing that I'm kind of asking.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I think
you would never root for Duke.
No,
you would never root for
absolutely
Auburn.
not. I would never root for Auburn.
Not even in a championship game?
Hell no. Excuse my language. No, hell no. No. And I've had 2 opportunities to do it. Nope.
Not doing it, huh?
Not doing it. I could. My fandom is so bad that I can't even pull for. I couldn't even pull for Cam Newton when he was a Panther. I refused to be a fan of Cam Newton because I couldn't stand his exploits at Auburn. That's how bad. I mean, and look, that's the fan base, right?
Yeah, and I guess if it was your heated rivalry, for example, USC UCLA, you're not rooting for your rivalry. I wouldn't be rooting for Washington State,
right?
Because they're our rival. But same thing with you and Auburn. You're not rooting for them. Duke is not rooting for North Carolina. I'm an ABC, anybody but Carolina.
That's right.
And if you're a Carolina fan, you're anybody but Duke. So I get that. But for the other teams out there that, if you're playing, I think you root for them. I think you root for your conference.
I do. No, and I agree. Like, if you think of if you look at other than Auburn, like I rooted for Georgia, right? I rooted for, I didn't root for LSU. Did I root for LSU?
You're just a hater.
I am just a hater. Yeah. So look, before we get into the real meat and potatoes of today's show, I did want to take a minute. There's been a lot of stuff that's going on. Let's thank our sponsors. Number one, Tap and Vine's where we are. Let's say that again. Tap and Vine, Quail Hollow. We're also supported by Carolina Steel. We're also supported by Stroll Magazine. So all those guys have continued our support since day one. It's been great. I've got a couple more guys that are about to come online. Gonna have some big announcements here soon about that. But look, man, here's the big one. It is really cool to say that we have started this in a new year and we're attacking this more. And those damn rings are intimidating, man.
Sorry, finish your.
I'm getting like my thoughts are getting blinded by all this bling. I've never, that's Rose Bowl ring.
That'd be a hell of a punch right there.
Oh yeah,
they're like a loaded glove.
You would need that loaded glove to do that. Anyway, so look, all these things being said, we are grateful for everybody that's watching. But to show support, please go to our YouTube page, Smothered and Covered Sports, and subscribe. See the stuff that we have coming out. Get a historical view of our videos. And ultimately, man, just show your boy and I some support. So YouTube's one of the big places, and then we also have a Facebook page and an Instagram page. So it's all the same, Smothered and Covered Sports. Please come watch and listen to me and Frank. All that being said, let's move on. I made a promise to Frank. I had to cover something before we got started, something near and dear to my heart. And a couple weeks ago, we lost somebody in the Carolina family that was a big name. In losing Eric Montross. And Eric Montross, for me, he was the first guy that I remember, the first big recruit of my lifetime. You know what I mean, Frank? Like, I still remember seeing him in the Hoops magazine when he was a kid at Indiana, standing on his flat feet, holding the rim. My dad was so excited that we signed him. To get him out of the state of Indiana was a big deal. But what he did for the University of North Carolina, and I'm sorry, I'm going to be a little long-winded, but not too long. He brought the blue-collar mentality back to the University of North Carolina. If you think about the big men before Eric Montross, we had Sam Perkins and Brad Daugherty and J.R. Reed. All those really good players, but those are modern-day centers. We didn't have a tough big man that could really anchor the middle and create a championship mentality through blue-collar strength and bruising.
Yeah, he was definitely, from what I remember watching him, an enforcer. And you were not getting the ball to the paint. That's back when, basketball was played a lot different. There wasn't the flagrant fouls and things of that nature. It was the no layup rule was in effect, and Montross was a imposing figure, back there. And if you were taking it to the hole, you're gonna face a 7-footer that was not going to be back down.
That's right, and he was the first guy at North Carolina to do that for a long time. And I mean, he ushered in Dean Second. He was the captain on the junior captain on the '93 team. And then spent his career after a journeyman NBA career, went back to university and spent a lot of time in charities and
broadcasting.
That's right. And there's been some great tributes from Clemson and various places that have left them open. So just wanted to open up by saying, man, Eric Montross's legacy is very, very much felt by me and my family. And hopefully, Frank, even though he's a dookie, but we're not even going to get into that.
No, listen, I mean, you watch sports and you root for players, even though you root against them sometimes. I hated Michael Jordan, but I respected the hell out of him. There's certain players that you don't like because they're so good, but you respect. Tom Brady, I'm sure, was like that for a lot of people. Tiger Woods was like that. You love him or you hate him.
Right.
Montross maybe wasn't of that ilk, but he was one of those players that you either loved or hated, and depending on what side of the hoop you're on, if he was playing against you, probably hated him.
That's right.
And that's a good thing. That's a respectful thing.
Absolutely. And who can forget the bloody game, right? Do you remember the game? A lot of people say when they think of Eric Montross, what they think of is seeing his...
I thought you were talking about Henderson and Hansborough.
No. This is the original bloody game.
The original one.
Yeah. Somehow it's always the Tar Heel that's bleeding. But we're not going to get into that either. All right. So let's get into the meat and potatoes, man. Today is Black Monday. Frank, Black Monday.
Oh, yeah?
To the layperson, that is the day that, it's the first Monday after the end of the NFL season, and coaches are starting to lose their jobs. Here in Carolina, we are reflecting on the worst season I think we've ever had. Even though we had a 1-15 season, I think this season was worse. We didn't lead all year in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
First time in history.
Well, not only that, Dan, is that I think what probably adds stuff to the fuel to the fire, with that is there's no optimism.
No.
And I think that's the biggest problem right now is that, at least when you have a bad season like this, you have something to look forward to, like the number 1 overall draft. David Tepper has done a absolutely horrific job of running this organization. He's done a great job of running this organization into the ground.
Man, yeah.
And it's a laughingstock from... I think he's been the owner for 6 years. They haven't had a winning season. The last 2 years, they've had the first overall pick, and there's nothing to show for it. They just let we have Bryce Young, but we just fired a GM. We've had 4 different head coaches. There's just the snowball is continuing to build, and unfortunately, it's going in the wrong direction. There's really no optimism or hope for the future. And I think that's the biggest problem I think a lot of people have with the Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, man. Not having any hope is probably the biggest pain, man. Like, and I'm a lifelong Panthers fan. Frank, I've been a fan since you were the center.
Yeah.
You know,
Are you that old?
I'm that old.
Yeah.
You're older.
Yeah, I definitely am older.
Yeah, you're definitely older.
And smarter. And better looking.
I'll give you the better looking for now. No, but look, man, it is tough for a lot of Panthers fans, and a lot of us are looking for hope. So if I'm the owner, and let's role play for a second, Frank, and you are David Tepper, okay? You're David Tepper. What's your next move?
Go cash a check. Because I got a lot of damn money. If
You
I'm
got a
David
lot of money if you're David
I don't
Tepper.
have a
You
whole
got
lot
that
of.
right.
I don't have a whole lot of worries if I'm David Tepper right now, and what we say, it really is not going to matter. But he still has to make some decisions in running an organization. And I think the biggest decision he has to make is to find somebody that's going to shop for the groceries, and that could be the same person all in one. And a guy like Harbaugh after the national championship game, I would not be surprised if his name started circulating more. It's already out there quite a bit. But somebody that's going to be able to do a little bit of everything and have a little bit more autonomy. That being said, I don't really know if it's going to matter, because I do think that what we are learning over the last couple of years with Frank Reich as the head coach, with our GM, there's not a lot of decisions that they're being able to make and are being held accountable for. So when you have that type of distraction, that undermining, even though you're the owner, if you're the ones that are making those decisions, you're the ones that are, going to hold coaches accountable and then blame the coaches, that's not leadership. And I think that's the biggest problem right now with the Panthers is the lack of leadership at top.
Yeah, well, I agree. But look, I ask again, if you're David Tepper and you've already cashed your check and you want to start bringing some hope to the fans, what are your first key steps? Who are you looking at? Who's your guy to say?
Harbaugh's my guy.
Okay.
Harbaugh's my guy. He would be my guy from day one, and I know that's a popular choice, but the reason why he's my guy is because he's built programs. He built a really good program at San Francisco, before they had Kaepernick. He put all the pieces in place. They got Kaepernick. They went to the Super Bowl. They didn't win it, but they got in position to win it. He was a part of that. Pete Carroll, with what he's done at Michigan.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, Dan, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, they were about ready to fire him.
Harbaugh?
Harbaugh.
Oh, I do remember.
They were about ready to fire him.
Because he couldn't beat Ohio State.
Because he couldn't beat Ohio State. And then over time, he gets the snowball rolling. He gets guys to buy in. He starts getting the better talent. He starts figuring it out, and he starts getting some of his guys. And he's built a program there. And for the last couple of years now, they've had one of the top programs in the country. Last year, they could have very easily been playing for the national championship. I think they made it to the finals or to the semifinals, and they got beat. But with this year, I was surprised they matched up against Alabama the way they did. The blitzes, the quickness, the size, the speed, the tenacity. Alabama went up early. I was like, oh gosh, this is gonna be ugly.
Yep.
Alabama's going to control the line and just wash these guys all over the place. And give a lot of credit to Michigan because they found a way to go out there and did it. And that's a testament to Harbaugh. He's held the ship together right through all the turmoil. If you remember, he was suspended for 3 games because of the Spygate or whatever that they were accusing him of stealing signals. And he held his team together. He has that tells me he has good coaches. That tells me he has a program. That tells me there's a hierarchy that trusts and believes on what he's selling, and it's all the same. So it's running downhill there, and it starts with Harbaugh.
Yeah. Well, Harbaugh's done an outstanding job, and I look more towards what he did in San Francisco than I do what he's done in Michigan. I mean, he went back to Michigan to make Michigan a winner again. Check. He did it. Michigan's winning again. They're back. They're unbelievable. But what he did at San Francisco, he took and this is going to be an unpopular statement, and I'm prepared for what is about to happen. But he took a low talent, Colin Kaepernick, low talent, turned him into a superstar. If Kaepernick was really good, he'd be somewhere else.
He
was on the bench when he was protesting.
Kaepernick had all the talent in the world. He wasn't a great quarterback.
Okay, that's a good way to describe it. He's what All I'm saying is he knew how to make them. He took all the tools that
He taught him
Kaepernick
how to
had,
play the game.
Taught him how to play the game and helped him create a game plan to win with a guy like Kaepernick, who, when Harbaugh's successor came in, could not do it. Because, I mean, when Kaepernick and all that stuff happened, he was on the bench. So, what he did at San Francisco, who was dormant and not very good when he took over, right? I mean, who was the guy that he replaced? He was the dude from Chicago. Come on.
The quarterback?
No, the linebacker.
Oh, yeah, Singletary.
He took over from Singletary, right?
Yeah.
So he took over Singletary, and they were an embarrassment at that time. Had no team cohesion, had no nothing. And then, boom, Harbaugh jumps in, makes him a team, takes him to the Super Bowl, and then bounces from Michigan because that's his alma mater. It's not because it's not because they were bad. It's not because he elected to leave. He wasn't fired by San Francisco. So I look more at what he did as an NFL coach than I do what he's done at Michigan. I mean, I expected this at Michigan. All he's done is what he was expected to do at Michigan. He has been a winner everywhere he's gone, and I would love for that attitude to come here. I just worry that the biggest problem is going to be is that him and Tepper in the same room. I don't know if Tepper's ego can handle having a guy like Jim Harbaugh in the building.
And that's going to be one of the, I think, the biggest kind of things that we need to see, because we really don't know who Tepper is yet. We've had a small window. We've seen him overreact. We've seen him lash out. We saw him throw the drink on the fan. We've seen some of the poor decisions he's made. We've seen the coaches that he's hired that are here today, gone tomorrow. It's a revolving door at the top, at the coaching carousel. And these aren't coaches that haven't had any experience. These are coaches that have been around, and he's firing them immediately. So what that tells me is that with a guy like, let's say, for example, Frank Reich, you're going to tell me how to do my job. Why did you hire me to do this job, and you're not letting me do it? There's a lot of the butting of the heads, and then ultimately the guy with the checkbook wins out, and you're fired.
Right.
So I don't think it had much to do with necessarily Frank Reich as a bad head coach or getting this team to play hard. I just think that there was a lot of decisions that were being made that were out of Frank Reich's hands, and I think that started with the quarterback. Tepper could tell you all day that everybody was on board with Bryce Young.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Bryce Young is going to be a bad quarterback, but I know the popular consensus from the people that I've talked to in that organization, like some of the guys that are very affluent in that organization, they wanted C.J. Stroud.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what our record would be or how much different it would be, but we would have won more in 2 games. And we would have future. We'd have hope for the future because of his style of play. They didn't make that decision, and we have Bryce Young, and now we have to go get some pieces for him to, have some success.
Yeah. Well, number one, I just want to point out that you have a Lost in the Sauce said Frank got more rings than a telephone.
That's right. Bling bling, ring ring.
That's so great. I love it. Thank you. I can't even read that name. Lost in the sauce. Love it. And he does. Frank's over here. I'm still like looking.
These aren't. And I also have a couple more. I got to show these ones too, because I'm proud of these as well as a coach. I got like 7 or 8 of these things.
That's so crazy.
State championships.
That's so crazy.
4A, 3A, 2A. We that's what we do, Dan. We win.
Yeah. All you do is win.
That's right.
I mean, you are a national championship winner. Didn't you play in an AFC or NFC conference title game or two?
NFC championship game. No, I played in the Super Bowl.
Oh.
I played in the Super Bowl, lost to the Patriots. So that was the one thing that's the one ring that my collection is missing. It was the Super Bowl champion.
Nobody's bitter about that.
Tom Brady didn't cheat. Bill Belichick didn't style. That didn't happen. No. But we can't say those things because then we become bitter. Or we act like we're bitter. But those things didn't happen. We just, I got a real quick story about that.
Oh, please do.
Super Bowl, we put this entire new package in with Marshall Faulk in a different position that he's played with different plays that we've never run before. And we're probably in about the second series of the game, and we get into this formation that nobody's seen, and the Patriots are calling out our play.
Wow.
How does that happen?
I have no. That's insane.
How does it happen?
They cheat.
Well, they filmed our practices when we were putting those things in, and they went back and reviewed the 4 or 5 plays, because that's typically what people are going to do in the NFL. You've got a handful of plays that you're going to kind of vary with different formations running the same plays, but that the other team is not going to be able to have a grasp on, and they have to make adjustments. So the problem is that they didn't have to make any adjustments, and we didn't have any type of advantage to get a first down. And those plays are not going to maybe score you touchdowns, but they're going to keep drives alive. Yeah. And as soon as we get out in this formation, they start calling the play out. We knew that we were going to be fighting an uphill battle.
That's, hard to argue, man.
Yeah.
That's hard to argue. Man, and it sucks because, I've never told you this. What Super Bowl was that?
Oh, gosh, I don't remember the number it was, but it was 2001 in New Orleans, 9/11. 9/11 year.
It was post 9/11, right?
It was the same year of 9/11.
Yeah. So here's an interesting story. You know that I watched that Super Bowl in Kosovo shortly after. That was the whole deal. But I watched that Super Bowl in Kosovo, and the one very interesting thing about the United States military up to that point is, do you know that there's always been a ceasefire
for the Super Bowl? Really? I had no idea.
Yeah, man. The Super Bowl is super big in the military.
Even the Arabians, they stopped firing, huh?
Well,
we just pulled back.
Yeah, we just pulled back. That's what essentially a ceasefire means. But it's cool stuff, man. So basically, Frank, if you're David Tepper, you're cashing checks, and we're looking for Jim Harbaugh. And we're hoping to bring in a new culture that is more reflective of the Carolina area.
That's right. And I don't know if you're aware of this or not, Dan, but Harbaugh was a quarterback here in, I believe, 2001.
I did not know that.
2001. I think he came in here for a quick hot second. And I don't know if he made the team or not, but I think this was like his last stop before he retired. So Harbaugh was here with the Panther organization for a quick second.
That's very interesting. I had no idea.
Learn something new every day.
I know, man.
That's right.
Know. Well, look, it's so we go from that part of the NFL to the NFL playoffs. We got some good key matchups. I think we're going to dig more into it this week. What's your first gut reaction? Who should we be looking at?
Well, the two favorites, in my opinion, obviously, I think the 49ers are the best team in the NFL when healthy. They have the bye. They're going to be hitting on all cylinders. They're going to have rest. They're going to have home field advantage, and they have the best weapons: Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey. Some of the receivers, Ayuk, and a quarterback that's hot. And on top of that, them getting Chase Young from Washington has elevated them on the defensive side as well. I don't know why.
Because if you remember, I celebrated that. You're like, oh, he's got potential. He hasn't proven. I just remember we can go back.
I said he has potential. He was the number 1 or number 2 overall pick. What are you talking about? He has potential. Of course, he has potential.
I just remember me saying it was a monumental pick. Deodorant. I just remember somebody on this team saying when that trade was made, I thought that was the biggest move at the trade deadline. And I thought it was going to catapult the 49ers. And yes, I am patting myself on both backs.
You also thought Alabama was going to win the national championship.
So did you.
Okay. I'm not patting my back over here telling everybody how smart I am.
No, that's true. But Chase Young did really make a big difference.
Yeah, he has made a huge difference. And he's brought that other aspect of the other edge where you can't just slide one way or the other towards Bosa. So he's freed him up, and he's obviously been a big impact on what they're doing. So they have Fred Warner's one of the best middle linebackers with the speed that he plays with. They got weapons everywhere, and I think they have the best head coach in the NFL.
They definitely have that. Kyle Shanahan's amazing. I'll tell you who I'm looking for, though. As good as they are, Baltimore is the team I'm watching. Baltimore, man, Lamar Jackson is just playing outside.
Steelers, I think they got a chance.
Well, Lamar Jackson.
0-2. I'm just being honest. That's what their record is against the Steelers. 0-2.
Hey,
and the fact that the Steelers got in, I don't know if it was a miracle, but they had to have obviously a couple things go their way. But Mason Rudolph has made an incredible impact, for that team. And everybody's talking, well, the offensive line's playing better. Yes, they are. They're running the ball more efficiently. Yes, they are. And it starts because of that quarterback pulling the trigger, getting the ball down the field. Dan, who has the most 60-yard touchdowns in the NFL? Which quarterback?
No. Mason Rudolph?
No, it's not. He has the second though.
Does he really?
Tua has the first with Tyreek Hill and the speed that they have, and then Mason Rudolph
in 3 games.
In 3 games, he's in second place for
That's
60-yard touchdowns. I mean, and that just shows you the talent that they've had, but quarterbacks not being able to get rid of the ball on time into space. There was a couple of throws he made. He was 18 for 20 in this last game in a torrential downpour.
Wow.
He is playing really, really good football. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not a guy that's Lamar Jackson's going to make guys miss and become ball dominant, but he is getting rid of the ball. This team is playing harder, and they're a dangerous team to play right now if you're playing the Steelers.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I am quietly becoming a Steelers fan, man. I never thought I would say that. I've made friends with some guys that are Steelers fans, and I always swore I would hate the Steelers because of the way they take over arenas. But the more I'm around Steelers fan and their fan base, I mean, that is a loyal fan base. That's a classy organization. They take care of their players. They
Tomlin hasn't had a losing season, I believe, in 18 years?
17
years.
That's insane.
His record in the playoffs has not also been very great either. So he's getting there, and then he's an early exit.
How many rings does he have?
1.
2.
No, I think he has 1 ring.
I'm looking that up.
Okay, you can look it up, but I think he has 1 ring.
I thought Roethlisberger had 2.
I believe he does, but one was with
the chin. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can tell me you're right later, but go ahead.
No, I believe you're right. No, you say that.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So moving on. Do you see the Steelers being a dark horse? Can they get out of the first round?
Yeah, I think they can. I mean, I think they're going to have a tough matchup, but you get in the dance and anything can happen. They have the experience. They have, they have. Yeah, go ahead, say it.
He's right.
Yeah. Okay.
No hundreds being tossed around today.
I should have bet you.
Yeah, that's right.
But I think they have a chance to beat anybody they play. Because of the style of football they play. They run the football. They muddy it up. They play good defense. So the biggest question mark is going to be T.J. Watt, whether he's healthy after a grade 1 MCL sprain.
Oh.
So how he can bounce back from that is going to be something that really impacts them on the defensive side, because he's having another great season this year, leading the NFL in sacks. So it's I think him and his brother, the only 2 guys that have had back-to-back 19-sack seasons in the history of the NFL.
That's wild.
That's crazy, right? And they're both brothers. That's incredible. I mean, that family is just they breed quarterback sacks.
What did the mom and dad do? I mean, what are they, just Vikings?
I don't know. They feed them raw meat. I know that.
No doubt. And testosterone.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So that's great, man. We're going to talk more playoffs as we go, but when the word playoffs comes, we are.
This is all about the Huskies tonight and Michigan. I'm looking forward to this game, Dan. I know I'm a little disappointed I couldn't make it down to Houston. I had a couple things that I was doing this weekend.
I thought they should have flown you out.
Well, they don't even give us tickets as
that
players.
blows my mind.
Yeah, even when we play
as a former national champion.
They don't give you. The NFL doesn't give you tickets. They give you 2. Then you got to buy the rest. So if family members come, you got to buy all your tickets. Same thing in college football.
That's ridiculous.
But Dan, I mean, it's there's a lot of pride from a lot of guys that I've spent a lot of times in those trenches with, and you know what that feels like.
Yeah.
But to be able to see them kind of celebrating right now, wearing their rings, showing off a little bit, it's something that hasn't happened for us as an organization or university in quite some time. So there's a lot of pride up in the Northwest. The Huskies at one point were kind of the bell cow of the Northwest because the Sonics sucked, and so did the Seahawks. They were awful back in the day when I was there in the 90s. And, Washington football was the bell cow for that city. Everybody had that pride, that Husky pride, and it's really, really good to see that back. And I know that they're, heading to a different conference next year, but as far as what they've done and what they've accomplished this year, it's going to go down as the greatest season, if not, one of the greatest seasons in the history of that program.
Is it still if they don't win?
No, you have to win it. I mean, we have a 91 undefeated team, which I'm showing the ring there, but
Humble brag.
Yeah, no, that's the truth.
Yeah.
It is. It's the facts.
Just the facts,
if and I think we would have beat. I don't think there was a team that was going to beat us that year, including Miami, who was also undefeated. We didn't really have a close game. We dominated everybody we played. Our defense was a dominant defense. I think our average was 8 points a game, 7 points a game is what our defense was giving up, and we were scoring 32, 33 on average.
What was the name of your coach?
Don James.
So I've got
the dog father.
Do you want to know who Don James, who credits Don James as his mentor and the guy?
There's a lot of coaches that do.
Well,
he has a great tree, but go ahead. Who are you speaking of specifically?
Nick Saban.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nick Saban doesn't. Everybody wants to credit Bill Belichick for Nick Saban's success, and Nick Saban will quickly say no. It was
Don James.
It was Don James.
Yep. And Don James, if I don't know if you are familiar with this tactic, but he coached from a tower.
Did he really?
He coached from the tower.
Bear Bryant did the same thing.
And it was the eye in the sky that you never knew if it was on you or not.
Wow.
And he wasn't a big guy, but he had he was very, very militant, and he had the softness about him too. But if he ever yelled or said anything from that tower, everybody stopped. And the great thing about it is he didn't really downgrade anybody, but he coached the coaches. He coached the coaches to coach the players. So he allowed people to do their jobs. And, we've had some really good coaches in that program. And Don James is, a reason for that.
Don James is one of the greatest coaches ever and does not get enough credit in the modern days. It does not. And you know who's not getting enough credit this year either?
Washington.
Washington's coach gets no credit.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
Hey, look, if you looked at Michael Penix's stats, so Michael Penix started his career at Indiana.
Yep.
Did you know that?
I did not know that.
So, and you know how many times he threw for over 2,000 yards at Indiana?
Well, he's also 3 years younger. Yeah, he's also 3 years younger, too.
Doesn't matter. 0 times.
Yeah, he might throw
started every year.
He might throw for 2,000 tonight.
I mean, he started every year, Frank.
Yep.
Started every year at Indiana, and then comes to Washington and goes from an average to below average player, at least within that system, to going into the Washington system, and is a Heisman Trophy candidate. He was
runner up in the Heisman Trophy, and then I'm not sure if you follow the draft orders and things like that from what Mel Kiper says, or the draft experts, but he's now a top 10 player because of the season that he's had.
Of course he is.
And him and their receiver have just lit it up, and there's something special about that connection. It's a Marvin Harrison, Peyton Manning type of connection that they have, and they just make plays and Polk out of the backfield. So there's a lot of weapons. I think Washington has probably the best collective group of wide receivers, and then Ohio State. Ohio State and Washington, I think those two groups of wide receiver crews would match up against anybody. And that's going to be what's really interesting tonight, Dan, because Michigan can flat out play on defense. They have big physical corners that can run. They're going to hit you. They're going to tackle. Michigan's defense is legit. Washington's offense is legit. And it's going to come down to the battle of attrition. Who makes more plays? Who doesn't turn the ball over? And special teams is going to be a big part of this as well.
That's right. Well, I hate to say this, and you're going to be upset with me, so please don't be. But I think that Michigan wins. And I think Michigan wins because
so does a lot of people.
Yeah, well, I mean, Vegas does. They're favored by 4.5. But I mean, I cannot wait to see what the Michigan defense versus the Washington offense is going to look like. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. I do.
I don't think so. I just think that.
What's the over under tonight? 51.
I don't know. I don't know what the over and under is, but I would take the under because I don't think Michigan is going to play that type of game. I think they're going to play it close to the vest. They're going to lean on their defense. Their quarterback's going to make some plays here and there, running the pocket, getting out of the pocket, and they're going to run the football. And I think that's the biggest thing that concerns me is the line of scrimmage. Washington's line is a little underrated, but Michigan just held up against Alabama, who I think the offensive line is the best in the country, them and Georgia.
Yeah.
But Michigan is legit on both sides of the ball. And if they can control their defensive front, then quick passing game, get rid of the ball, Penix move within the pocket, and then throw his little darts down the field, and it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm super excited. I'm super excited, and Frank, with all that bling, I just
Last time.
I don't want to watch it around you because I don't want to get hit by one of those things.
Yeah. That's a loaded right hand right there.
It is. Well, guys, I want to thank you, everybody, for tuning in and listening. This will be up on YouTube within the next hour. For Frank and myself, this is Smothered and Covered Sports.
Let's go, Huskies.
And you got to cheer for my boys.
Go, Huskies.
If the Huskies win, we will open with the Huskies fight song tomorrow.
Down to Washington. Da-da-da-da.
It's a good thing you played football.
I'm a
you
terrible
can't sing.
You're right.
But for Frank and I, this is Smothered and Covered Sports.
Peace.
Have a good day.